Well, I grew up here in Bakersfield. Great upbringing. My dad was a farmer. My mom was a housekeeper. Really, we had a really cool home. And it wasn't about 13, 14. I just started going a different direction. Shiny things started catching my attention. And I started going, I got caught up. I became a meth addict right around 14 years old. And that continued to about my 17th birthday area of my life. I didn't know God. I was just on a downhill, spiral, and I ended up in prison. And when I went there, I realized that that's definitely where I didn't want to ever be. So when I got out, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. I had a ex-girlfriend or a girlfriend at the time, and she had a cousin that lived up there. So she said, "Hey, let's. If you want to change your life, my cousin will let you stay at his apartment." So I said, "All right, I'm in." And I moved up there by myself, and I said, "I'll come back in about 6 months," and I did. Things didn't work out, but as I was working just different jobs, I was working at the Arizona Biltmore as a busboy at a taco shop. I used to flip the chickens like, Pollo Loco style, but outside. And I used to work for a cabling company. And one night, a guy by the name of Sal De Luna, he stopped by this restaurant to have dinner. And I really caught my eye because here this Latino was driving a Jaguar, and his license plate said éxito, which means success in Spanish. And he really, really caught my attention. And while I was working on the grill, flipping the chickens, he looked at me and I remember I'd never met the guy, and he just kind of looked at me. He put up his hands like this, and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "you don't fit this picture." And I started laughing. I said, "I don't know what you mean." He goes, "Yeah," he goes, "this isn't for you, man. You got, there's something about you." He goes, "Have you ever sold cars?" Well, he asked me if I'd ever sold anything. And I said, "Yeah, but it wasn't legal," right? I said, "I've sold everything, but it just wasn't legal." And he laughed, and he goes, tell me your story." So I kind of told him how I grew up, and I told him, part of my life, and I told him I had just gotten out of prison, and that I was out here to change my life. And he said, "I'm going to help you." So I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "I'm going to show you how to sell America's bow tie." And I said, "I don't know what that means." He goes, "Chevrolets, man." I said, "Chevrolets?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I work for the largest Chevy corporation in the nation, Bill Hurd Chevrolet."
And what year was this?
1998, 99-ish. And that's what drugs do to you. They fry your brain, right? So, so I said, "All right, where do I go?" And he goes, "Well, if you go," I was working at 2624 East McDowell Road. I'll never forget it. 2624 East McDowell Road in Phoenix, Arizona. He goes, "Just go straight down McDowell. When you get to Scottsdale Road, you'll see it right there. It'll say Big Herd, Mr. Big Volume." I said, "Okay." The owner of the taqueria talked to him, and they were really good friends. He had bought a few cars from him. So he goes, "Hey, Sal's a good guy. I trust him. You should trust him. I don't know what he sees in you." And, now that I'm older, I kind of reflect on that. Sometimes other people see your value. And I never understood that until I met Sal. When you grow up the way I grew up, you really don't see value in yourself. I was always down on myself. I always beat myself up. I was never good enough. And here I have a complete stranger telling me, "Hey, listen, you got to come out here and work for me. This is an awesome business." And I said, "Okay." So I told him, I asked him, "Well, how much am I going to get paid?" And he goes, "As much as you want." I said, "Well, I want to make $7,000 a month." And he goes, "Okay." I said, "No, I'm serious." He goes, "Mario, you can make 10. I said, "Yeah, right, man." He goes, "I'm serious." He goes, "I'm serious. You can make as much money as you want." So I went over and I kept the one job, which was the Arizona Biltmore, the resort. I was a busboy there at night, and I really liked it because you get free food at night, and it's usually steaks. So it was good stuff. And so I was working Bill Hurd. Finally, I quit the Biltmore because I was making a great living. I was selling cars. He gave me a bunch of VHS cassettes, and he goes, here, this is all your product. He goes, listen, you said you come from the streets, right? I said, yeah. He goes, well, you have different products on the street, right? I said, yeah. He goes, same deal. Malibu, Impala, Silverado, Blazer, Suburban, Tahoe, same thing. It's just a different product. You're selling iron and metal, and you're selling families transportation. He goes, and you're going to sell them lots of smiles. He goes, we're going to help people get into cars, and you need to feel good about that. I said, okay. And they called me into their office one day. He said, hey, man, you know what? What do you think about finance? I'm like, I don't know, man. I know you guys make pretty good money. And he goes, how about if I told you that I want to mentor you? He goes, there's something about you, Mario. I see something in you that a lot of these knuckleheads don't have.
That's the second time someone's done
Right.
that for you.
So I'm like, really, Rick? And he goes, yeah. And Brian Muff, I mean, both of them, I love them to death. I mean, I called Rick yesterday just to say thank you. Because now that I'm 41, it means so much to me to acknowledge what they were teaching me. And so he says, okay, you're going to sit right here. So he had a big desk, and he puts a small desk with a small chair right next to his. He goes, I'm going to show you how to look at people's credit so we can try to help them and get them a loan. So I did that, and I started looking at credit and learning the credit and learning people and learning, just the business and finance. Sales, you sell cars, that was kind of easy. But finance was different because now you really had to make that customer and that bank come together. And so 3 months later, a couple of guys quit. He goes, Tommaso quit. I said, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, two of the guys quit. He goes, then we need somebody in finance. He goes, are you ready? And I said, heck yeah, right? I'm like, I'm in, man. And I said, well, how much am I going to get paid? He goes, well, I think you're going to be just fine. He goes, if you're doing this for money, Mario, then you're doing this for the wrong reasons. I said, okay. The question's still stuck in my head. How much am I going to get paid? So I started asking some of the other finance managers, and the numbers were just... You gotta understand, I never graduated from high school. I never went to college. I dropped out as a sophomore. Again, I was a meth addict. I had a record. And I was getting these opportunities that normally a guy like me would never have. As I started making money, I started getting farther away from God. I started believing that I was doing this. And this is where things go bad. For quite a few years, I was doing great. I became a homeowner, which is an awesome feeling. I had a swimming pool in the back. I mean, the dog. I didn't have the picket fence, but I had a house and a pool, and it was mine. I bought it. I had my car, and just everything was going good. And I never went back to church. It wasn't for me at that point. But in 2007, after being a busboy at the Arizona Biltmore, I could now afford to go there for dinner. So I went to dinner. I remember my friend Trey Reed was there with me. And we had dinner at Wright's Fine Dining, at the restaurant inside the Biltmore. And we decided to go outside and smoke some cigars and have a little drink. So we're sitting down in a beautiful, I mean, just, you got to go there. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Big lawn chairs, fire pit. We're sitting there smoking cigars, and Trey goes, wow, Mario. He goes, he's from Compton. Grew up, same kind of, upbringing. He goes, man, I can't believe a couple knuckleheads from California came out to Phoenix and we made it, right? To that level, yeah. I mean, we made it. And he goes, man, God is great. And I remember looking at him, and I said, God? I said, you're kidding me, right? He goes, no. I mean, don't you think so? I said, has God come down and give you money? Does God type our deals in finance? Does God pay my mortgage? God's never done anything for me. Matter of fact, I grew up with an abusive family, in an abusive home. Right around my 12, 11 years, right around like 9, 10, it got really bad at home. First part of my upbringing, beautiful. Farms, horses. During my family's divorce, things went really bad, which again got me into my meth addiction. And I said, God has never done anything for me but just bring pain. I said, look at what happens in the world. If he was as great as he says he is, he would end all that. I said, but he doesn't. I said, I did this. I was wearing a watch at the time, really expensive one. I said, I got this watch. I got this ring. My house, I got it. Everything is me. I'm not going to give credit to someone I can't see, smell, or touch. So no, Trey.
So what changed?
2008. In less than a year, I found myself broke, living in Las Vegas, repo trucks after my cars. My house went into foreclosure. And my life went completely sideways. And all I could do was talk a crazy mess to God. Tell him, see, you give it all to me and then you take it away. How is that fair?
So you gave him credit. Sorry, you give him credit for what you didn't give him credit for.
Right. So,
What were the details of how that happened? How did you lose it all?
so I ended up, I got this supposedly great opportunity to go to Vegas. Bill heard Scottsdale, or Phoenix, shut down. They said, hey, Mario, we're going to transfer you to Vegas. Great opportunity, new title, new position, bigger money. I said, all right. I had just gotten married. I moved my wife and we moved to Phoenix. We moved to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas, I didn't really gamble, but I just started drinking, partying, really not paying attention to anything that was going on. The world was falling apart. The economy's going down. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm Mario Sabalza. Things don't fall apart around me. I make things happen. So the car business started going really bad. At the age of 17, let me go back. At the age of 17, I was caught in a stolen car. In that stolen car, there was a gun. And my buddy that was driving the car had it. They pulled us out at gunpoint. And they asked me, so Mario, when they arrested me, I was 17. They said, how old are you? When's your birthday? September 21st, 1975. I didn't want to be 17. I wanted to be 18, right? Because I didn't want to go to juvenile hall. I wanted to go to Laredo County Jail. Stupid, but I'm telling you, this is the truth. So they put me in Laredo County Jail. Months later, my sister finds out where I'm at, and she goes and tells the warden at Laredo County, hey, my brother's in here, and he's only 17. And he said, okay. Are you sure? She goes, yeah, here's his birth certificate. I had changed my name. I had changed my birth date. Nobody knew I was in there. I was a big boy in there, right? My sister pulls me out of Laredo County. The warden says, go to juvenile hall and finish up your time there. I had already been charged with Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto. Go down there and go to juvenile hall, finish your time there. I went to juvenile hall. They couldn't find a record of me. So I said, okay, I'm gone. My sister's like, all right. So after that, like I said, I went to prison. Nothing ever came out. I went to jail. Nothing ever came out. 2008, I'm working at Bill Hurd Chevrolet, Las Vegas, and I get a phone call from my general manager telling me that he needed to speak to me immediately. In the state of Arizona, you don't need a state license to sell cars. In the state of Nevada, you do. When they ran my fingerprints, they found that stolen car charge from 15 years prior. And he fired me on the spot. He goes, you need to go fix this in California. I jumped in my car, grabbed some money. I said, I'll go pay the fine. And I'm done. I head to Bakersfield. I go to the jail in Truxton, to the court in Truxton. I'd been calling the lady on the road. And she goes, yeah, absolutely, come on in. We'll get it taken care of, squared away. I had a warrant for my arrest. And when I walked in, they had me go to a little room where they locked the door. The sheriffs came in, handcuffed me, and I was once again in jail.
After all this time.
Right. And I said, hey, why am I in here? Well, we've been looking for you. You have a warrant for escape. I said, what do you mean escape? Well, you escaped from Laredo County. I said, what are you talking about? Well, you have Grand Theft Auto. Started reading my charge. I'm like, no. So I go to court, and my father hires an attorney, and the attorney's like, I don't know what to say, son. You owe 3 years of probation, and the probation department wants for 3 years. I said, what are you talking about? Yeah, you got to go to prison for 3 years. You don't have no bail. You have nothing. Like, this is already a settled case. Because I thought I was a pretty tough guy till they throw 3 years at your face. And I remember being scared, and I said, God, will you help me? That's all. That's the only person I knew I could turn to. And I just wanted him to help me. And I knew that I at least had a shot, because, I mean, I wasn't going to, you never get a yes or you never get a no until you ask, right? So I said, will you help me? And we go to court, preliminary hearing for trial. And the attorney's like, Mario, there's not really much we can do for you. And I said, but I was 17. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I was 17. Those charges were when I was 17. They charged me as an adult. He goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. So that is literally what got me out of that pinch. He told the DA, hey, listen, this guy was only 17 when you guys charged him. You guys charged him as an adult. He was in Laredo County Jail. This is a 15-year-old case. And I said, tell them what I've done afterwards. I told my attorney, tell them that I used to be a dope fiend. Tell them that I didn't graduate from high school. Tell them that I made $100,000 last year. Why don't you say that to them? Everybody keeps trying to convict me of what I used to be 15 years ago, but look what I've done in that time. Nobody really cared. And he went to the judge, and he presented the case, and they dropped the charges against me. And I got out. I went back to Las Vegas. Bill Hurd Chevrolet had filed for bankruptcy. The checks that I had in the mail were no longer good because they belonged to a bank account that was already closed. I was 2 months, 3 months behind on my mortgage. My wife was going crazy. 2008, I ended up living in Porterville at her mom's house. And her mom, allowed us to stay there with her, and in a humble home. And I lost it. I started drinking again. I never went back to meth. That really wasn't my thing. I just started drinking a lot, and I just went into this thing they call depression. And I hated my life. I went to Costas Lake. It's a little fishing hole. It's no longer there, but there's about 5 little ponds. You pay $7 a stake, no license. You just go out there, and whatever you catch, you get to keep. So I went down there by myself one day, and I'm sitting at the edge of a lake, and I remember just looking at the water and I remember just asking God, like, hey, man, if you're real, I need a miracle. I want my miracle. And I felt this peace. I felt this peace in my heart. And I don't know what it's like when God talks to you, but I tell you what, I feel he was there that day. And after that day, my wife had been wanting me to get a job at El Pollo Loco with her sister that was a manager. And I kept saying, no. I don't work for minimum wage. I'm better than that. I walked out of a Chevy dealership in Porterville because they wouldn't pay me more than $6,000 a month. Pride alone. I could have made that from the get, and I chose not to because my ego and my pride was way too big. And I called my wife and I said, hey, tell your sister I'll take that job. She goes, you will? I said, yeah. She was okay. All right, babe. I'll call her right now. I interviewed with the area leader. I showed up in a suit and a tie to Pollo Loco. And the guy was looking at me, he goes, you realize that I'm hiring you to be on the grill. I said, I don't care, man. You're going to hire me even if it's just because of what I'm wearing. And I was suited, right? And he goes, okay. And he said, tell me your story. So I told him my story. And he goes, you know what? He goes, I see something in you, Mario. I see a manager. He goes, listen, I can only start you at minimum wage. But if you take this job, I'll make sure you get into be a manager position. I said, all right. And I worked in Fresno. He put me through, and he didn't have to, he put me through a training course to be an assistant manager. And I was working in Ashland and Blackstone in Fresno. And I remember he told me, hey, I'll pay you mileage if you do caterings. If you deliver the caterings, I'll pay you a little extra mileage and your hourly wage. He goes, and I'll get you into being an assistant manager pretty soon. I'll up your pay. Well, I found myself flipping chickens again. He said, hey, listen, we're going to do some training on this grill. I said, hold on, man. Let me tell you something. I know how to do chicken flipping, right? It's my thing. Then I ended up going back one day, and my manager says, hey, Mario, I need you to deliver this chicken. It's a catering for a dealership. It's right up the road, 5515 North Blackstone. And I said, okay. And it's only stuck in my head. But I said, okay, no problem. So I packaged it up, got my catering ready, double-checked. And I drove up, started looking. She goes, it's a GMC store. You'll see it. Kitahara GMC. I said, okay. So I just drove up Blackstone because it's right up the road. I saw it, and I'm like, wow. Okay, here it is. Made a U-turn. I walked inside. It's the car business again. It's felt good to be in there. So I walked in. I started talking to the guys. Hey, I'm here to deliver this chicken. So the guy comes out. The owner was right there, and he gave him the credit card. I said, hey, how many cars you guys sell? He goes, oh, we do about 150. I'm like, oh, wow. It's not much. And the manager looked at me and goes, what do you mean? I said, at Bill Hurd Chevrolet, where I used to work, we sell 500, 600 cars a month. And he goes, yeah? I said, yeah. I said, how many guys do you have in finance? He said, 3. I said, wow. I said, what do they run per car? It's terminology for the car business. And he goes, man, you ask a lot of questions. I said, I used to be a finance manager, man, right in Las Vegas. You should look me up. And he goes, yeah? So I started giving him my numbers and my stats. Remember, he looked at me, and he goes, well, apparently Pollo Loco pays better than the car business. Maybe I'm in the wrong business. And he started laughing at me. He goes, we don't even run those numbers here. And I said, no, but I used to do it in Las Vegas. And he goes, okay, listen, man, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, come on, let me just pay you. So he takes the receipt and he signs it. And I said, man, I'm serious. I used to work in Las Vegas. And he goes, okay, man, okay, all right. Hey, listen, good luck out there. He goes, hey, maybe one day you'll apply here. And the owner was standing there, and he just kind of laughed and walked away. I left, and I drove around the corner to a parking lot. And I think I was crying because I was so mad, because I'd never been humiliated like that. I knew what I was talking about, and he never took the chance to even get to know my story. Yet everywhere else that I'd been, everybody wanted to know my story. Everybody saw something in me, and this guy didn't see it. And I was mad. Went home, told my wife, cried to her. She said, don't worry about it, Mario. Mind you, she was my business development manager at the dealership. That's where we met. So she knew my numbers, and I told her, I said, she said, Mario, he just doesn't know you. It's okay, don't worry about it. You got this job, just take care of it. And I realize now that, going back to the Biltmore, God had been with me the whole time. I believe that when I said that, he stepped away. And he truly let me do it by myself. I believe he said, okay, sucker, you want to do this by yourself? Let me show you what by yourself does. And I lost everything. Almost lost my sanity. But it fired me up. This guy really fired me up. Since 2008, I bumped into another guy who hired me to be his general manager of his grocery store. And he asked me, what do you make in a Pollo Loco? I said, I'm a manager. He goes, well, how much do you make? I said, a lot. And he goes, how much do I have to pay you for you to leave that store and come work for me? And I said, I don't know, like $6,000 a month. And he goes, if I pay you $6,000 a month, you'll come work for my grocery store and you'll help me run it? I said, yeah. And he shook my hand. And within 24 hours, I was up. In 30 days, I hit my $6,000. I told him, you know what? You're going to increase my pay $1,000 every month until I hit $8,000. So in 60 days, I should be making $8,000. He said, okay. And I just got air under my wings, man. I was making income again. But this time I wasn't stupid. This time I was going to take care of it because I knew God had looked out for me again. I mean, I didn't go out and buy expensive watches. I didn't go out and buy expensive cars. I kept it humble. I just kept on the positive path. I went to Visalia First Assembly of God and with Pastor Mike Robertson. And I started listening to him, and it sparked something in me. I say, I want to be part of something bigger than just me and God. There's more people like me. So years later, I met Jose Arredondo. I met him through my brother Jesse, and we connected, and he asked me to come work for him here in Bakersfield at Audi, the Audi Porsche Volkswagen store, Family Motors. And he said, come work for me. And he asked me, the first question he asked me, he goes, hey, we did the introduction. Hi, my name is Mario, I'm Jose. He goes, are you a believer? And I said, oh yeah, like you wouldn't imagine. He said, tell me your story. I told him my story. And he goes, that's a good one. That's a good one. He goes, Mario, he goes, I see something in you. I said, really, Jose? He goes, yeah, man, I see something in you. I said, okay. He goes, I want you to come work for me. I want you to be in finance again. And I said, you're kidding me, right? And he goes, no, man. I started working at Bakersfield Audi on September 1st, 2016. And I showed him what I was about. And I just plugged away. And I remember pulling him aside one day after a sales meeting, and I said, hey, Jose, will you mentor me? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. He goes, okay. I said, can I meet with you once a month for at least 1 hour? He said, yeah. He goes, nobody's ever asked me that. I said, well, I know I see what you have. I know where you came from. I said, I know your story. I said, and if you did what you did, I just need you to teach me how to do it. And he goes, okay, we'll meet. So we met for breakfast, or we meet for lunch. Right around the corner, Molly J's. Simple. Here's this man who has been very successful, financially wealthy, but more than anything, loves God. And I remember walking into his office one day, and I saw Pastor James Ranger and Pastor Lydia in a picture frame. He only has a couple of pictures, and one of them was them. And I said, who are these people? He goes, oh, that's my pastor right there. I said, yeah. He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, powerful people, Mario. Powerful people. I said, yeah. Where are the pastors at? He says, New Life. And when I moved to Bakersfield, I made this my church. And I came here and I started seeing Pastor James Ranger. He wasn't dressed in a suit. He was wearing like a cowboy shirt and boots and jeans. And I was like, he's awesome. He's a Packers fan. But other than that, he's awesome. You know, if he was a Raiders fan, I think it'd be a lot better for him.
God would love him more.
God would love him more. God would definitely love him more. And I said, this is my church. So this is where I plugged in. Once I met him and Ali Dane, who is awesome. I love Ali. I love Jose. And the people that surrounded him, I remember my dad at a very young age would say in Spanish, Dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres. Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you your worth or your value. And I remember looking at my pictures when I was in prison, and I had a group of guys that I hang out with. They influenced me in different ways. They showed me leadership in certain ways, but it wasn't good. And now I'm hanging out with, to me, the wealthiest guy I've ever hung out with. And he's asking me to hang out with him. And I remember my dad and his words. And when I felt that, I went back to my dad's house. He lives here in Bakersfield. And I said, I know what you mean now. I know what you meant. What are you talking about, man? And I said, the whole thing, the dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres. I said, I'm having breakfast and lunches with Jose Arredondo and Ali Dane. He goes, whatever. I said, I'm serious. Like, I get to hang out with them, Dad. He goes, the owner of the family motor? I said, yeah. He goes, and what are you doing? I said, I work for him, but I work for him. He said, wow, man. He goes, good job, mijo. And I was just blown away by my company. My company was awesome, good, nurturing mentors, true leaders. In March, Jose and Ali asked me into their office. He said, hey, Mario, come here. You know Fresno, right? I said, well, yeah. I mean, if you want to say I know it, I mean, I know the county jail. I know Pollo Loco, right? I didn't say that. But I said, yeah, I know Fresno. He says, okay. He goes, I'm thinking about something. He goes, but I need you to keep it hush-hush, man. I trust you now. I said, what? He goes, I trust you, Mario. And I remember the look on his eye when he says, I trust you. Okay? You're one of us now. And I said, really, Jose? He goes, yeah. I said, okay. He said, hey, listen, I've been looking at this dealership that I want to buy in Fresno. And I said, okay. And he goes, and I don't know why, Mario, I think this dealership is for you. I said, okay, Jose, I mean, you told me to give you 10 years of my life. And I committed to 10 years. I'm going to take your leadership and Ali's leadership for 10 years. You have me till I'm 50. And he goes, okay, you're right. I said, okay, so if you can trust me, then tell me, what are we looking to buy? He says, I want to buy a dealership. And he goes, Ali, what's the name of this dealership? And he goes, Katura. And I said, Kitahara? I said, you want to buy Kitahara Buick GMC? So he started, doing his paperwork and his due diligence, and it took a little bit longer than anticipated. But on May 1st, 2017, Jose Arredondo purchased Kitahara Buick GMC. And I remember Ali says, Mario, you ready to move? I said, oh yeah. He goes, okay, you got to find an apartment. I said, I already found one. He goes, okay. And a couple days later, we're packing stuff up. I'm helping them count cars. We're on this lot. The official day was May 1st. And I went back. I went back to the exact same spot that I stood to deliver that chicken. In the same 4 pieces of tile that I stood back on there and I said, Father God, you're real. You're real. You are absolutely real. I felt like a little kid because I was jumping up and down on that roof saying, praise God. Praise God. It gave me such a sense of closure. We go through life and we just judge people because of others. And it shouldn't be that way. One apple cannot ruin the whole barrel. It doesn't. I don't believe that. You just got to get rid of the apple fast.
Or take that apple to the healer.
Right. Show them something different. Ali Dane taught me something that I'll never forget. He says, hey, Mario, when you see someone that you dislike or someone that just gets under your skin, he goes, do me a favor. Take a second. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they got going on at home outside of work. He goes, if anything, get closer to them. Because maybe you can see something in them that they can't even see in themselves. I said, you're right, Ali. That's my story.